Welcome to the Checked Out Podcast, the official podcast of the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. I'm Emma Hunley, in for Jessica Renato, and I'm here today with Fritz Pape, a library customer specialist, and Brian Powers, our community content coordinator, talking about the social stairs and Sunday on the Stairs. Yeah. So, hi, welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk a little bit more about such a key element to our community engagement and architecture here at the main library. I had a friend come in the other day, and one of the first things she said, she hadn't been here in a decade, was when she walked in and saw the community, the awesome social stairs, that it made her think, is this a library? This is such a big atrium and community space. Can you tell us more about how that important piece of architecture kind of came into play here?
Yeah, I wasn't in on the actual, I don't know who came up with the actual concept of having social stairs, but I know that was planned when they decided they were going to redo the South Building, which, you know, they closed, was that in 2021 when we closed the South Building to the public?
I think maybe even in 2020, the timelines are kind of hazy.
Yeah.
But around then, yeah.
Yeah, so it had been in the plans, and then it was in the end of 2021, the architects had reached out, and they said they wanted to speak with me, which I didn't know what that was about. I had formerly been in the past, many years ago. I've been here at the library for 28 years, but I was the music librarian for some time, and so. You know, I used to get to order the music and all that kind of stuff. So they reached out because I guess the architects, I don't know who came up with the idea of doing music, but they, you know, since this was going to be a social stairs about community, they were trying to think of different ways of how to, you know, how do the communities engage, and they thought music was one of those ways. And I think I didn't ask them, but I always think that they saw all these murals that are downtown, and there's like a James Brown mural, there's Isley Brothers one, there's one on Mamie Smith, who's from the 1920s. And I think, oh, well, Cincinnati does have some it has some music history. So I think they reached out. They reached out to me. They were already using King Records as they had already been created a database using King Records, because that's been getting a lot of notice over the years. And so they reached out to me with the idea of trying to expand the timeline beyond King Records years, which was 1971. So I was like, sure, you know. One of the reasons I want to give a little bit of my background, like I'm from Virginia, I'm not from Cincinnati, but I know a lot about Cincinnati music history because I'm a big music person. I was in college radio back in the day, and I worked at record stores and things like that. So that's always been an interest to me, and history too. So I moved here in '95, and I had heard there was a music scene here because I had saw the Ass Ponies play in Norfolk, Virginia, and the Afghan Wigs were having some buzz because they were on Sub Pop. You know, this is in the early '90s. So I moved here because my girlfriend at the time had gotten a job here. So other than that, I really didn't know a whole lot about Cincinnati other than Procter and Gamble. You know, but I heard there was a music scene here. There was some buzz going on, and there was like Short Vine, all that stuff happening. So, anyways. I have two sisters who are librarians, so I'd go to the library back in Norfolk and stuff. So of course I came to Cincinnati. I go to the library here, and what I was really impressed was our CD collection. I mean, they did a really great job of, you know, getting current music that was out there, but they would do a great job of getting local music. And so that's what I was kind of interested in, was like learning all these local bands. And like I was so impressed that all these bands were putting out their own stuff. Like, you know, I thought that was cool. Like, we had bands where I grew up, but a lot of them just couldn't get it together to record an album. You know, they play a lot, but here we actually did have, like, you know, you had Shake It Records, which was putting out, you know, 45s of local bands. And there was somebody out there trying to put out some recordings for people, and I thought that was kind of cool. So, anyways, I would come to the library all the time. So eventually that led to me getting a job here. So what I'm saying is our record collection has a connection to me actually coming to work at the library.
Yeah, so there's a lot of personal connection there of your love of music, and I, as a transplant myself, there's always something here that in Cincinnati that also stuck with, I think, all the transplants, and music was yours. So the architecture firm reaches out to you and says, hey, we need more info. How did you help build their, like, what happened?
Well, their guys were based out of San Francisco, so they didn't kind of know, like, what the artists were, so they were sort of looking to me, and so whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But I did reach out to other people, Fritz being one of them, because I used to go out a lot back in the day, but not so much for the last 10 years. But I depended on Fritz and people that he knew to sort of tell that story.
I sort of have I am from Cincinnati, but I have a very similar sort of I have a long history with the music scene in the past maybe 15 years or so. Like when I was in college in 2012, I started being in too many bands and playing too many shows. So I was sort of familiar with the scene as it was recently, compared to Brian back in the 90s and the early aughts. So it was a very kind of collaborative experience to get this full breadth of a list of musicians from Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I had reached out to other people because they were a little bit on a timeline to get it. So it wasn't like we had a whole year to come up with our final list or anything. We really had maybe 4 months or something. So
quick.
I always tell people, well, if you didn't make it on the staircase, which does come up, I said, it's not like we deliberately left her out. It was just we just only had so much time to get to it. It would have been nice to have more time to kind of finesse it a little bit more, but we did the best we could. I mean, talking to the architects, it was sort of the concept that we have a jukebox. It's sort of representing sort of a Cincinnati musical jukebox, or like a record collection. It's sort of visually what it's supposed to be. You see that those are spines of album covers, those lines that you see. So it's kind of the idea of say it's a library collection. We don't have everything, but we try to have it represent.
It's a snapshot of 100-ish years of music history.
How does color come to play when you're looking at the stairs? Because there's just so many different vibrant colors on these spines. How does that play into?
I think that was also an idea from the architects, right? Each of the colors represent a different genre of music. There is a list at the base of the stairs to coordinate yourself with all the colors. What's really cool about it is you can see sort of the gradient change from the 40s, when popular music in Cincinnati was country western, jazz, big band stuff, and then it kind of slowly moves up to rock and pop and hip hop over the last 20 years. So it's this really gorgeous kind of yellow green to blue purple gradient. That
was one of the concepts we sort of talked about with the architects about how music, I think they originally they wanted to start in '55 because we moved to this location here on Vine and 8th in 1955, but I kind of argued, well, you're kind of missing out on some history. So I convinced them that we should do 45 because it's sort of a post-World War II kind of thing, and it's how music changes over the decades. So you start out. We have all this new music that's emerging after World War II, bluegrass is coming to the forefront, then you got, rockabilly, and then later on got soul, and later you got funk, and then how that all changes, over time. So the architects kind of planned that pattern a little bit, and but we kind of came up with the different genres of music because they wanted to have different colors, and they wanted each line is, and I'm sure some bands might be not happy.
We got very granular, especially recently. There's experimental rock and noise rock are the two that I come across a lot. I think there are 6 bands on the stairs that are noise rock, but then there's a lot of bands that are labeled as experimental rock that are quite noisy. So it's
you had to have
it's
one.
Tough. You have to pick one.
So each color represents the kind of music, but then did we get it exactly right? No, it's hard. It's a judgment call.
A snapshot.
Yeah, but did the best we could.
Oh yeah, but it looks fantastic. I mean, even if you don't take the time to look through each of the spines, it's an integral piece to what's happening in the atrium as soon as you walk in. Is there any favorite that you might have slid in on your list?
I am incredibly biased because I'm on there. So I won't say that one. That's a good question. Oh, who is a favorite?
Yeah, if you guys are picking the list, I feel like there has to be somebody that you put on there and it's
There's a band called Marr, M-A-R-R, that buddies of mine were in back in the day. They were, as a lot of bands back in my day when I was playing too many gigs, there's a lot of bands that were around for maybe a year and maybe put a record out. That is the one sort of thing I am bummed about of all of the bands that my friends were in and that I was in that never recorded anything, so they are not on the Stairs. So but Marr is a really, really good one. They moved to Chicago, as most folks do, and sort of scattered, but I'm glad they're on there.
Yeah.
Good little burst.
Well, to me, some of the earlier stuff, I read this book years ago. I got here at this library called The Unknown Heroes of Rock and Roll or something. Unknown Legends of Rock and Roll is what it's called. And in there they have people like Whitey Harris and Roy Brown, and I don't know who those people were, but they were all these jump blues artists who should be more recognized because they were sort of pioneers in music. But they're on the staircase because they recorded for King Records. So I always think, they probably aren't ever going to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like Whitey Harris, he's the guy who first recorded Good Rockin' Tonight, that song that a lot of people think is an Elvis Presley song in Memphis. It was actually recorded here in Cincinnati in 1947, and it was a #1 hit on the R&B charts in 1948. But no one thinks of that. But we have that on our stairs. So something like that, that's kind of cool for me. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a...
No, it is really cool.
I don't know if it's going to change the world, but to me, I'm like,
it's cool.
Barney Harris is getting a little bit of recognition.
It's the little things, yeah.
So.
Well, it's also one that I knew about that I didn't put in there because it was back in the 80s, but there's a record by a guy named John Bender who is in my world of weirdo electronic experimental stuff. He is kind of this legend even outside of Cincinnati, and he's a dude who lives in town, and the fact that he is kind of planted there, spitting distance from James Brown, it's very cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
So the stair concept really stems from the Cincinnati scene, the Cincinnati community. How do we bring different events and pieces of what we're doing here programming wise alongside that?
So when the Stairs were being completed and we reopened, I think we started talking about this right before we reopened, but we were we should have some of these bands come play here, and that was just kind of the nugget of the idea.
Yeah,
and
the main library has a history of musicians coming here to play. I mean, even from when we opened the building in '55 in this spot, we had the LaSalle Quartet play within the first month, and they used to do a series, particularly during the '70s. They would bring in folk bands and jazz bands. It was called Music at Noon, and they would do it in the garden and stuff like that. And they've had people in the '90s. We have a VHS of it was a blues guy named Pigmeat Jared who did a concert here, and you could check that out from the library. So we've had concerts before, so this is sort of a continuation of a tradition that we've kind of done.
Yeah, that tradition did continue up until we closed down for COVID and for construction. I mean, we had regular jazz monthly. We used to have a experimental music at the library series way back in the day, which is how I got my start at the library. playing there, and then in my first interview for a shelver, they were like, "Oh, you did that thing, right?" And despite that, they hired me. But yeah, so we just had this idea of let's bring the people in to play, and it pretty quickly grew into this full program package with our programs and events department and our Story Center folks, Clarity, Zach, and Caleb in particular. The five of us are this like Sunday on the Stairs crew, where once a month we get somebody from the staircase who is still performing to come in, and we get an oral history with them, give like their context in the music scene, their background of their education, and kind of things that they're excited about now. And then we do like a filmed performance of a song of theirs before we open to the public, just in like the empty atrium, which is always a really fun production. And then they do a set for the public Sunday afternoons, and it really has grown just like so beautifully into this like known series like in the community, and people are excited about it. People are excited to perform at it. We're pretty much booked out for the rest of the year. Yeah, it's been really, really cool and great.
Well, I think it's fun, like, you know, with the artists, we always try to, like, you know, do whatever you want. It's like we just want to give them the freedom to, whatever they want to do. Like, do they want to be a full band? They want to do an acoustic set? We leave it up to them to decide. Especially with the music video, we always say, you know, you choose whatever song. How do you want to bring somebody in? You want to, whatever how you want to do it. We kind of leave it to them because, you know, we want them to be creative and kind of make it a fun, you know. And it's a time for them. It's like their platform to sort of, you know, show us their
the video beforehand. We've been getting a lot more kind of creative and like taking it outside of the stairs. I think most recently we did Matthew Shelton, and he was in our sea of books on the second floor, just picking away and singing.
We had Daniel Martin Moore in the garden.
Yeah, Daniel Martin Moore we had in the reading garden. Which was gorgeous, and it worked great because there were a lot of loud trucks out that day, and they just happened to stop for the 5 minutes we needed, which was miraculous.
Well, that's awesome. Before we start talking about specific things that might be coming up, we're going to take a little quick break before jumping back in.
Did you know the library offers free printing? Print up to $5 of documents every day for free. That's 20 color pages or 33 black and white pages. Additional pages are only 15 cents a page for black and white or 25 cents a page for color. Learn more at chpl.org.
Do you need a private space for studying or a meeting? Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library offers free meeting and study rooms for reservation. Available at most library locations. Learn more at chpl.org.
Alrighty, welcome back. So let's talk upcoming Sunday on the Stairs.
Yes, so it is April this month. We've got Heavy Hinges, who were supposed to play in January, but that Sunday landed on one of those big snowstorms we got this year, so we had to nix it. But we're really very happy that they're able to come in for April. May, you booked.
We have in May we have Cheryl Renee, who's a really great blues singer. She plays piano, and it's usually just her on the piano, but she's got an amazing voice, and she's really very entertaining. She's a lot of fun. That'll be a fun set.
What genres can people expect coming up this?
So Heavy Hinges is heavy rock, blues stuff. In September we have Yusuf Quota, who's like dance electronic music. It's the first time we've had kind of like a real like dancey four on the floor person coming in for Sunday on the Stairs, which I'm really excited about. We have a folk band in June, right?
Yes.
Serenity Fisher.
Right.
Those are the ones that are booked currently. I mean, we have a lot of folks that were like trying to get in, a lot of like big folk bands, big kind of like indie rock, trying to get some more hip hop in here.
Awesome.
Yeah, we just try to not try to do the same music twice in a month, but we're up for kind of anything. We try to make it, eclectic. Kind of like the Staircase, how it's like it's sort of reflective of that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We try and make a point to like the Staircase does, give a full scope of how vibrant the scene is in town, because everybody's doing something.
Yeah, we're trying to showcase the kind of music that's being created here from this part of the world,
Yeah, all types.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I know you both love music, as clearly your probably number one favorite media, but is there any other type of media that you're currently listening to, watching?
Well, I've been listening to, I'm always listening to new stuff. There's a new record by the band Sun, which just came out. They're this just apocryphal, like, guitar drone titans, and they put a new record out that's just absolutely incredible. I'm a big movie guy, love the movies. I saw the Mario movie recently, and it was okay.
That's what I've heard.
Here's the thing. I am probably slightly biased because I went with my 9-year-old nephew, who is like so deep into Mario, and I'm deep into Mario. I love the guy, I love Yoshi, and Yoshi was in this one, so like, as far as I'm concerned, it's worth watching just to look at Yoshi. But I saw this French film called Alpha recently. I can't remember the director's name, but she did a movie called Titane a few years ago. Alpha was good. It was interesting. It is kind of a parable of the AIDS crisis in the 90s. Little bouts of magical realism in there to kind of tell that story. I think the abstraction it was going for was interesting, maybe more than successful, but it is. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It got a big negative reaction at film festivals last year, but I thought it was like good. I thought it was fun.
You have a really diverse
Yeah, I love the movies.
media going on.
I'm reading this book called There Is No Anti-Memetics Division, which is this sci-fi book, and I'm terrible. I can't remember the author, but it's a mix of like board reports and narrative about this like secret, shadowy sci-fi organization that like tracks abnormal entities in the world, and the entities in the book are entities that their entire existence, if somebody like witnesses it or sees it, their brain gets erased of the fact that they witnessed or saw it. So it's like, how does this department track this stuff? It's cool. I'm not much of a sci-fi reader, but like that kind of business I'm all about. And I'm about to start rereading Infinite Jest with a whole bunch of people. If anybody listening to this wants to join my Infinite Jest book club, hit me up. Come read it. It's a good book.
It's a great book.
Trust me.
Oh. What about you, Brian?
Well, as far as music, the CD that I have been playing, a CD, not streaming, a CD, which I just bought last week. It's a local band who happened to play part of our Stare series, a band called Spoils.
Shout out
great
Spoils.
Band. They had a couple EPs out. This is a new record. They're having their album release party in town here, and we're in mid-April. They're doing their CD release party.
It's this Friday.
And at the Motor Pub.
At Motor.
And they're a great band. They're really great. So they opened for somebody last week at the Woodward Theater. So I went, and they were selling like a little preview CD of it. So I bought it, and it's great. And the very first song in there is the song that they played for our performance video that they did last year. So it was kind of cool to hear the studio version of this song that we've had on our YouTube channel here at the library. So
It's awesome.
So Spoils, you should check them out. They're good. As far as music, as far as movies, my wife's got knee replacement surgery, so we really haven't been watching movies because she can't concentrate that long. But what we've been watching for 7 weeks now is a TV show that maybe you may or may not be familiar. It's a British show called the Great Pottery Throwdown.
Yeah,
it's like one of these competitive shows where they make pottery.
It's like Bake Off, but for pottery.
I am really not shocked that Fritz knew what that was.
What can I say?
So, been watching that mostly. That's pretty much been my world for 7 weeks, is watching that.
What's the weirdest thing someone's thrown on there?
Well, I love when they made these toilets, which is always interesting. It has to work, and sometimes they don't work.
I cannot expect a pottery person to know the intricacies of plumbing. Just can't.
Yeah, that feels like it wouldn't be a requirement.
No. Man.
So, but I haven't got out to see too many movies of late, but I tried to. When I did go. I was back in Virginia and took my mom. It was her birthday. We went to go see the Ryan Gosling movie,
Project Hail
Project
Mary.
Hail Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Read the
It's
book.
good.
It was really good, and I think they did a really good job of trying to make such an intricate book, I guess more, I wouldn't say palatable, but more accessible to people who aren't huge sci-fi heads.
It's really, I really quite liked Project Hail Mary. It felt like the kind of like adventure movie that doesn't get made as much anymore.
Yeah.
That like everybody can go and just like be really into and engage with. I'm glad Ryan Gosling's back. He's a star. Love the Rock guy. He's funny.
Love a good puppeteer.
Love a good puppeteer.
Love a good buddy movie.
Yeah, I was reading that like the Rock guy he's a puppet and like a animatronic in some scenes.
Yeah, the
It's very
voice,
cool.
the voice actor for Rocky is actually the lead puppeteer.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And he wasn't the original intention to have him the voice, but I think they just got. I think him and Ryan Gosling had a chemistry, and they just went with his voice. But originally they were going to go with somebody else's voice, or record a voice later. But
Yeah.
So cool.
What have you been into?
What have I been
Yeah.
into? So actually Project Hail Mary.
Yeah, totally.
That's actually what I've been talking about. And then lately, honestly, a lot of webtoons and web novels. I'm
Sure,
kind of in my discovering online graphic novel scene.
Totally.
Gotten a lot of good stuff through Libby, shockingly. I was excited about that, that I downloaded directly to my phone and my Kindle. So I've been reading a lot of stuff there.
I know Hoopla has a pretty boisterous collection of graphic novels and stuff.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get on it. I'm not gonna lie. I lost my library card a decade ago. So
Well, you know where you can get a new library card.
So all you have to do is bring your ID to the front desk to get a new one. So I'm in the process of doing that. But then I'm gonna get on Hoopla and go down that rabbit hole because I had a few fellow employees who have turned me in that direction.
Since we're just advertising library services
We have
here, Canopy is the spot. Canopy is the one that's like, that I feel like a lot of folks don't know about, but the ones who do know about it are like, this is it. It's the like movie streaming thing that we have. And the stuff on there is unbelievable. There's so many like international films and like documentaries, as well as like poppy stuff, but there's stuff that is on Canopy that you cannot stream anywhere else, and it's free with your Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library card.
Great plug. I loved it. Well, thank you both so much for being on here today.
Of course.
I'd love to give you a little time to shine here on upcoming, let's tell everybody when Sunday on the Stairs is going down.
Sunday on the Stairs this month is, let me look at my calendar because I'm terrible with dates, the 26th of April. It's every final Sunday at 2 p.m. in the atrium of the South Building. We have lots and lots of programming cooking up right now for the summer. We have a huge music program happening that I don't think I'm allowed to talk about quite yet, but you will certainly be hearing about it soon.
That's
And
for
a lot.
July,
That's for
sometime in
July. That's in July.
Teaser.
Stay tuned. It'll be crazy. I'm very excited for it.
Well, that's so exciting. Well, thank you both. This has been great, and it's really nice to hear a little bit more about the how and the why behind the awesome installation of that little piece of Cincinnati music history. So,
Yeah.
thank you both.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Checked Out is a podcast presented by the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. It is produced by Paul Wellington, sound engineered by Steve France, hosted by Jessica Renato, and supported by the CHPL brand team, as well as the hundreds of library staff across Cincinnati and Hamilton County. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.